Hello and welcome to the fourth video for our Lightning course on the software asset lifecycle. Today we'll be covering the phase of assigning and distributing licenses. This covers the steps following procurement, but before the actual installation and deployment of the license happens. Best practice for this lifecycle phase is to ensure that your organization has clearly communicated, understood, and consistently applied procedures, as well as roles and responsibilities, and that ensures that data points you're going to need to manage successful software asset management are being captured as a result of the acquisition of software. This should be happening up front, and as much as possible, be automated through the lifecycle phases. By that, I mean once a purchase order is made by your organization, that record is immediately searchable in your ERP system and supported by a process, and that procurement is always following that process the exact same way. Once an invoice gets sent, it is always recorded in the financial management system the exact same way, using the exact same procedure. If all of the departments who are supporting software asset management are consistently gathering those correct data points in exactly the same way, directly following the acquisition of a software product, this saves a lot of time and energy if you should ever have an issue or if there should be a compliance challenge to your organization, for example. So continuing with this principle, let's think about assigning and distribution of licenses. So we're not installing software or sending actual bits and bytes to the end user in their desktop just yet. That's going to happen in the next phase, which is deployment and monitoring. But we do need to consider a couple steps before we can assign a license to an end user. First, we want to do some checks. We want to ensure that we have a valid purchase order and a paid invoice. In other words, you want to guarantee before you're assigning licenses that your organization has multiple data points that can prove they have legally acquired the right to install a software license or a license entitlement. Until this license entitlement can be proved by your organization, assigning and distributing a license to an end user could potentially create a gap. It could put you out of compliance. So the best practice here could include some policy approaches and policy languages to that effect. For example, in your policy statement, you could say, license assignment and distribution can only take place if they're accompanied by an approved purchase order and paid invoice. So if you're doing a preventative check to ensure that you have that license entitlement before you assign or distribute a license, that's only a piece of this puzzle. Another best practice would be to recommend a check on all of the licensing terms and conditions for this publisher to determine if you can allocate a license to the end user that's requesting it. So for example, if you have a site license for a particular software application and that user is working at a different site, well, just the fact of assigning that license to the end user would create a potential compliance issue. You would violate those terms and conditions. So it's not only important to ensure that you have entitlement before assigning or distributing a license to the end user, but you need to understand the impact to your organization if there are any other limitations based on that contract or end user license agreement. For this reason, the SAM team needs to review and approve those assignments and distributions before they happen. Please note those limitations and restrictions can go both ways though. Sometimes this means that you need more process controls, for example, not assigning the licenses to users at a specific site. In other instances, a license may not need to be assigned to a specific user at all. So it is again the SAM team's responsibility to be experts concerning all of the terms and conditions in those software contracts and license agreements, and to facilitate the effective governance of the assignment and distribution lifecycle phase. This will ensure that potential compliance risks are being mitigated and being avoided. The next phase we're going to discuss is deploying and monitoring of software. We'll cover application packaging and the importance of metering software usage to ensure that your software estate is making optimal use of your organization's investment. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about this phase of the software asset lifecycle or other ITAM topics in general, please get in touch with us or reach out via our website at anglepoint.com.